Hello, Packers fans, and welcome to the Pack Attack Cast. Brand new stream here on the YouTubes for you Packers fans that are looking for some feedback, analysis, and just a fellow Packer fan that's ready to tell you how things are, how things could be, and give you some positive thoughts for the future. It's our first stream. We're going to try to do this couple times a week, give you a good feel for, kind of the heartbeat of the Packers. What's going on with the Packers, how the Packers are looking this year, and what we can do as fans to be objective fans, but still enjoy fandom. I think that's something that gets away from us sometimes. I think a lot about the end of the year doldrums. Last year was rough. We backed our way into the playoffs. Playoffs didn't go well for us. It's easy to get down on the Packers and our optimism, but we need to turn the page. But before we could turn the page, I want to take you back to how you felt after that game on Thanksgiving against the Dolphins. We dominated that game. At that time, we were the hottest team going into the home stretch before the playoffs. Everybody was talking about the Packers, about everything that we could do in the playoffs, and then the wheels kind of came off. There's no other way to say it. Lots of missed opportunities, but there's lots of reasons to be enthusiastic about what we can look forward to in 2025. So I want to take a look at the offseason so far and talk about how we can really take that positive momentum of the offseason and be enthusiastic about the chances of the Green Bay Packers this year. So some of the things to look at that we saw in the offseason, the Packers were top 10 in spending in the offseason. A lot of that was keeping our own players. Nothing wrong with that. It's a lot better to see your team hold on to its players than to get rid of their players as quickly as possible. So we're top 10 in spending in the offseason. And the Packers are returning 10 of 11 starters in their base offense, which is really, really exciting. You look around the league is full of change. There's so many teams that are completely revamping their starting offense. And we're in a situation where 10 of 11 starters in our base offense are going to be returning. And the one player that is being replaced is actually an upgrade. Aaron Banks is a significant upgrade to our offensive line, and he brings a lot of exciting stuff to the table. First of all, Elton Jenkins is going to move to the center position, which is a significant upgrade to our center. Banks is roughly, if you look at the statistics and performance over the last couple of years, he's very similar in production to Elton Jenkins. So when you put Banks into guard, Jenkins moves to center. Overall, our offensive line looks significantly better in 2025 than it did in 2024. In a significant benefit that Banks brings to the table is he is a very, very high level run blocker when healthy. He's really good at getting out in space and establishing those blocks away from the offensive line, and he's going to really open things up even more for the running game. If you look at the running game in 2024, our running backs were very solid, on the border of being elite, and a lot of that production came from individual effort from our running backs. If we can improve the pass blocking, that's only going to improve our running attack, which is going to be the baseline for our offense. It's going to allow for play action and big plays down the field. So I'm very excited about what an overall improved pass blocking group is going to do for us next year. Now, some people look at the game against the Lions, first game against the Lions, where Elton Jenkins had to go in and actually end up playing center, and he clearly was not comfortable there because he was thrown in there kind of last minute, and he didn't get those center snaps, which he's going to get all through the preseason, training camp, regular season. Elton Jenkins has the potential to truly be a game changer at center. That also helps him ease into a position that's going to allow for a little less movement, which will be ideal as he gets older. So that's something really to be excited about here. And I think a lot of people, when they saw what the Packers did in the offseason, and I was one of them, at the start of the tampering period, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's see what the Packers can do. And I saw signing. And then I didn't see any activity for the Packers. And I'm like, well, did Goody hit the snooze alarm on the start of the day here? He's not really getting involved. But then we saw 2 significant signings at the end of the first day. We already talked about Aaron Banks, which I think is a significant upgrade to the offensive line this year. Next up, we have the addition of Nate Hobbs in the secondary. Again, the Packers are returning 9 of 11 starters from their base defense. And this continuity is going to be a big theme. It's really exciting to see a team add 5 or 6 new starters in the free agency. It's very exciting. It gets everybody hyped up about it. But continuity is so important, especially, for example, on the offensive line. That's going to be a situation where some of these teams that brought in 2 or 3 new starters for their offensive line, it's going to take them a significant period of time to gel into a unit. Banks plugs right in where Elton Jenkins was. I don't think we're going to see much of a challenge there as they transition. It's really a perfect fit. But going back to the defense, we've got 9 of 11 starters from the defense, and we know that defense was playing at a very high level at the end of the year last year. The defense was not the reason that the Packers stumbled at the end of the season and into the playoffs. That was 100% a lot of issues on the offense that was impacting their ability to outscore their opponent. The defense was definitely playing at a high level. So it's great to see that we're going to have 9 of 11 starters returning on defense. And one of the biggest changes is going to be the addition of Nate Hobbs, who was signed in free agency. He is a very excellent player. He really is a true Packer free agent signing. And what I mean by that is he has the potential to be a perfect fit for what they're trying to do on defense. First of all, you look at Nate Hobbs. He's been nothing but enthusiastic about joining the Packers. I thought it was amazing that I think it was like 2 days after he signed, he was in Green Bay doing stuff in Lambeau Field, showing his enthusiasm for being there in Green Bay. He's very excited. He's from everything I've seen from people that have played with him, talked with him, say he's very much a bring the lunch pail to work and get the job done player. He's not a prima donna. He's definitely a team first player, which I think is a significant improvement over what we've had in the position in the past. So I think Nate Hobbs brings a great attitude and personality to your Green Bay Packers, and I'm very excited about seeing what he can do there. Um, he has the ability to play both inside in the slot and outside corner, which is the biggest need that we have going into the NFL draft. So it's great that we're able to get a starter caliber outside corner before we go into the draft, so we can really focus on getting what we need to do out of the draft and get the best player available. So Nate Hobbs has the ability to be a true outside corner and also kick in inside as need be. We don't know what's happening with Jair Alexander right now. There's a strong possibility he won't be with the team, which is exactly why they picked up Nate Hobbs, because he can slide into that role as the number 2 cornerback. It'll be a significant upgrade over what we had this past year. So I'm very excited about what he brings to the table. Now, imagine in an amazing world where Jair Alexander comes back ready to play and he's healthy, right? This is why this pickup was really an intelligent move for the Green Bay Packers. Because in a perfect world, Keyshawn Nixon's on one side. We retain the abilities of Jair Alexander. He's on the other side. All of a sudden, we could put Nate Hobbs in the slot. And we can have a really good trio of corners in the base defense. Now, in the event that Jair does move on, I think Nate Hobbs can definitely slip into that number 2 cornerback role and be a very effective piece for defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. So I'm very excited about what Nate Hobbs brings to the table. Again, we're bringing 9 of 11 starters back, and the biggest addition, Nate Hobbs, is an upgrade to what we saw last year. So I'm very excited about what he brings to the table. We do have with the loss of TJ Slayton, we do have some snaps we need to fill up in the interior defensive line. No question about that, but that is what the draft is for. And this draft in particular is incredibly deep on the defensive line. So I'm very excited about the potential of finding a TJ Slayton replacement, slip that right in. We put Nate Hobbs in, which is going to be an upgrade over what we had at the end of the year last year. And this defense is going to be significantly better than it was in 2024. So I'm very excited about that. Some other things we could look forward to in the defense in 2025. Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper was an amazing dynamic player at the end of the year. If you look at on a per snap basis, he was the 5th ranked player at his position, but only played half of the snaps in 2024. Some of that was due to injury. Some of that was him getting up to speed. Some of that was trying to figure out life in the NFL, right? But once he was unleashed, he was a decisive factor in the defense. And if we get a full set of snaps from Edgerrin Cooper this year, I couldn't be more excited about what we can do on defense. Another thing to look forward to, and I know this is a divisive item for Packers fans, is Quay Walker. Look, Quay Walker did not end up being what we expected when we drafted him in the first round. But he does have a lot of great qualities. The physicality of Quay Walker never matched up with the decisions on the field. And that only happened for a brief period of time in 2024 when Quay Walker was putting things together mentally to match up with his physical ability There were some games in 2024 where Quay Walker was a great linebacker, truly a great linebacker on the field. And when we get Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker, two physical dynamic players on the same page, on the field at the same time, I think we're going to see lots of exciting, positive things in this defense. Again, this defense has room to grow, not only from the improved players that we're going to put on the field, either with the addition of Nate Hobbs or from the draft, but just getting Edgerrin Cooper in as a full-time starter and hopefully having Quay Walker take that mental improvement, which we saw in 2024, but into 2025, we can actually have a significant strength at linebacker. And it's been quite some time since the Green Bay Packers could say they have one of the best linebacking cores in football. We're not there yet, but the potential is there if Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper can put it together at the same time for there to be a truly great linebacker presence for the Green Bay Packers in 2025. So I'm really excited about that. Another thing I continue to be excited about is Jeff Hafley. He's got another year under his belt. He's got a learning curve, which he went through. You saw that a lot in the last game against the Bears. The Packers should have won that game. Jeff Hafley made some mistakes. We didn't do the right things at the end of the game against Chicago to win that game. We had the game won with, I think, like 2 minutes left at most, and they ended up driving down the field and getting a field goal. That was a heartbreaking loss. And Jeff Hafley did amazing things last year with smoke and mirrors, okay? With having basically our fifth cornerback as a starter, by having some of our best players out due to injuries, and not getting a push from our front four to get to the quarterback. Jeff Hafley did an amazing job, and there's no reason to believe that another year on the job, plus reinforcements from the draft, there's no reason to believe that Jeff Hafley can't have a significant improvement in 2025. So I'm really excited about what we're going to see offensively with a healthy Jordan Love, with an improved offensive line, and the fact that most of our players are staying, returning from last year in the offense. We're going to have a significant potential for growth in 2025. Now you're going to say, but Christian Watson's out. Yeah, I know Christian Watson is out. But I think there's things that we could do within the scheme to offset his loss. Hopefully we can get some player health out of our wide receivers and some significant improvement, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. There's some players that can make a significant stride in the offense to really offset the fact that Christian Watson isn't going to be on the field for the first half of the season. So let's talk about the draft. We're going to do some mock drafts. That's probably going to be the next video that we do in the next couple days. We're going to have a full draft of players being added to a team that's only changing maybe 3 starters from a year ago. 7 players coming in, 3 spots, maybe 3 spots available, and those spots aren't necessarily going to go to our draft picks. So we've got a significant potential for improvement in the draft. Also in the draft, there's a possibility that if Jair Alexander does not return to the Packers, we might be able to trade him. Most likely, and I've played this out a fair amount, most likely what we could see is we could see Jair thrown in either for a pick or as a move up in the draft. It would not surprise me. In particular, I think there's room in the second round if you could add your second round plus Zaire Alexander, you can move up significantly in the second round and get a better second round player. So that's to be determined. But I do feel, and I don't think this is necessarily likely, but this video is not brought to you by McDonald's, but McDonald's, if you are interested in a sponsorship, please let me know. There is, as we get closer to the draft, there feels like there is a potential that Jaire Alexander could remain with the Packers. Right now, I put it at maybe 10 or 15%. But if you asked me a month ago, I would have said, nah, he's gone. So there's still the potential that Jaire Alexander could return to the Packers in 2025. If he returns and he stays healthy, it's a game changer because you have Jaire on one side of the field, Keyshawn Nixon on the other side of the field. You can have Nate Hobbs either spelling those players or in the slot. And before you know it, this secondary could be an elite secondary in a heartbeat. Now, I do think the chances of that are low, but even if Jaire does not return, we're going to get some sort of a draft capital from his departure. So I'm very excited about that. Remember, Jaire was not on the field at the end of 2024, and this was still an elite, on the verge of being an elite defense. We can get there in 2025. Some other things that I'm really excited about that I don't think is thought of enough is young players that could make a jump in 2025. People were disappointed that we didn't spend a whole bunch of money in free agency. A lot of that is we need to keep our core players, and we have a lot of young players that are on the verge of becoming great players. So some of the players I'm excited about seeing, Lucas Van Ness, we've talked about him. Is he playing up to the level of a first-round pick? Not yet. But if Lucas Van Ness can turn it on in year 3 and become a really high-quality rotational defensive end pass rusher, he's really good against the run, but he can get significantly better there. He needs to work on some pass rush moves, but Lucas Van Ness could be a great improvement from what we already have on this team. Tyron Hopper, we haven't seen anything from him significantly in 2024. He's a complete unknown. If we could get some production from him, this would definitely be an instant positive for the defense because he basically redshirted his first year. Where I think he could really shine is in the nickel defense. I think he has some potential to maybe come in sporadically. We could play some big nickel. He can contribute there, hopefully in the nickel space, because he does have a lot of athleticism, which we just have to unleash onto the field. All right, Javon Bullard. We saw a lot of highs and a lot of lows from Javon Bullard in 2024. If he could settle down and become a consistent addition to the defense, again, that's another player that could be a key part of upgrading this defense in 2025. On the offensive side, we've got a lot of potential where we can use speed that hasn't been tapped in to really replace, at least in the short term, Christian Watson. I'm talking about Donatavian Wicks, who's got great speed. He's got great ability to get away from coverage. He just has to improve his hands. And he actually showed some significant improvement at the end of 2025 with his ability to reduce his drops. If that can continue in 2025, Donatavian Wicks can significantly help this passing offense. Another key addition that I'm really looking forward to in 2025, it's like getting another draft pick, is Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd suffered significant injuries throughout his rookie season. To the point where his season was shut down because he lost his appendix at the end of the year, and he was not able to get back into the mix. A full off season with Marshawn Lloyd is going to be critical for the Green Bay Packers, because we've got our Thunder, okay? We've got our Thunder. We have an elite player in Josh Jacobs at the running back position. But if we can take a fast, elite physically, we haven't seen him put it on the field yet, but Marshawn Lloyd, by many people in 2024, was considered the best running back in the 2024 draft. If we can unleash some of that speed and quickness and that change of pace for Marshawn Lloyd, the running game is going to be very dynamic in 2025 for the Green Bay Packers. Marshawn Lloyd also has some significant upside in the passing game as a receiver out of the backfield, especially if we get him in third down. I think Marshawn Lloyd has really potential to be a truly very good screen running back receiver. And if that comes to fruition, this offense is going to have some significant benefits just from the players that are already on this team. I'm very excited about seeing what Marshawn Lloyd can do in training camp and the preseason, where he's going to get significant opportunities to show he could be a big part of this rushing attack in 2025. I still firmly believe that the Green Bay Packers can put a lot of things together that are already on this roster. We're not talking about the draft yet. I think between free agency and what's already on this roster, this team can take another level. And ideally, the Packers can go into the 2025 draft looking at getting the best player available. We do have some needs for depth on the defensive and offensive line, and I think that's really where Gutekunst is going to focus in the 2025 draft. So you might not see those immediate impact players come out of the draft this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Gutekunst does a great job of looking ahead at what he needs a couple of years from now. And I think that's going to be a big focus of this draft, because there is enough talent from free agency and from players that didn't reach their full potential last year to upgrade this roster with what we already have on the roster right now. But we look at how the Packers can win the NFC North in 2025. We've talked about development of players that are already on the roster. We're going to have reinforcements from the NFL draft. We have excellent coaching staff and an excellent staff continuity. You've got to look at what's going on in the rest of the NFC North. The Lions were decimated in their coaching staff. That can easily take a year before the Lions really get their new coaching staff all on the same page. I don't think you can underestimate the impact of all the brain trust from the Lions literally just leaving the building in the course of a week after they were out of the playoffs. It was a scary thing to see. The Packers do not have those issues. We have staff continuity, and we have an excellent coaching staff. Matt LaFleur, with some improvements, could be Coach of the Year in 2025. It would not surprise me. He is on the cusp of being a truly great coach. Jeff Hafley is getting to the point where he's on the verge of being an elite defensive coordinator. The addition of some additional players and some improvement and an extra year to develop the defensive scheme is going to really improve Jeff Hafley in 2025. Not to be dismissed, the NFC North has a buzzsaw of a schedule in 2025. I don't think we're going to see 3 teams get over 10 wins in 2025 in the NFC North. Where that comes into play for the Green Bay Packers in 2025 is we're playing a third place schedule. And the Lions and the Vikings are playing some really, really tough games on the road in 2025. Those same teams that the Lions and the Vikings are playing on the road, the Packers are going to be playing at Lambeau Field. If you look at the schedule, how this is going to play out. The road schedule for the Packers is very favorable, and the hardest games on the schedule are probably going to be played at Lambeau Field. And I think that's going to make a 2 or 3 game difference and put the Packers on the top in 2025 in the NFC North. So that's my early thoughts on the offseason and the potential for the Packers to win the NFC North before we go into the draft. And on our next video, which will probably drop in a couple days, we're going to look at some mock drafts for you guys. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a mock draft with no trades. I'm going to do a mock draft with some minor trades. I'm going to do some mock drafts where we try to trade away Jair Alexander to get some upgrades in our draft position. So that's going to be our next video. It's probably going to come out in a couple days. And I'm very excited about the Packers in 2025. And I'm very excited about you coming and checking out this brand new channel. Hopefully it's going to be a part of your regular rotation. And we can bring some excitement and enthusiasm into the Packers season for 2025. And I will see you next time.